Thank you very much for inviting us. I think it's a very encouraging sign that we are coming from Germany, from that country which was and which is, I think, deeply involved in anti-Jewish patterns and anti-Jewish attitudes. I think it's a very encouraging meeting here, to be here, to stay with you, to talk with you about what's going on, because we need a network, because we are a minority, a small minority, and that's why it's so encouraging. I was asked to talk about the approach of my Protestant church towards Israel, towards the Jews, towards the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians, and the response. It is well known that the churches played a highly dubious role during the Holocaust. Only few single persons tried to behave as righteous human beings. As for Hermann Maas, a member of my church, of my United Church in the southern west of Germany, he was the first German to be invited to the just founded state of Israel in 1949. Although he saved a lot of Jewish lives, he publicly confessed after the war, in the year 1946, the guilt of the Christians. Therefore, he had to deal with a lot of hostilities, also from his colleagues and fellows of the church in Baden. Nevertheless, he supported needy Israeli citizens in the beginning 50s. For example, he organized relief supplies from Germany to Israel in 1952. I point this exemplary and rare attitude towards the Jewish people in Israel, and especially in Israel, out, because this could have given his Protestant church, my church in Baden, a line on the way where and how to go for the coming decades. But the Church of Baden has been also deeply infected by the anti-Jewish pattern and doctrines. After the war, there was no repentance, so that all Protestant churches in Germany remained silent, also my church. Not until 1984, the Protestant church in Baden, together with some other German churches, began a reversal process. The synods confessed, for example, we confess with dismay the co-responsibility and guilt of German Christendom for the Holocaust. We declare, throughout the centuries, the word new has been used in biblical adjectives against the Jewish people. The new covenant was understood in contrast to the old covenant. This disrespect to the permanent election of the Jewish people and its condemnation to non-coexistence marked Christian theology till today. They continued, hence we deny that the people Israel has been rejected by God, or that it has been superseded by the church. Such a paper. I was involved in writing this paper. Still more, in 1988, my church confessed at the anniversary of the 40th foundation of the State of Israel, we as Christians bear a co-responsibility for Israel. The existence of the Jewish people is a sign of the faithfulness of God towards his people. When reading or hearing these declarations of repentance and conversion, and when reading or hearing the statement on the State of Israel from the year 1988, when counting the many thousands events which will take place this week on the 9th of November in Germany, it could be concluded Germany and its churches have finally learned their lesson. But the culture of remembrance, the public speeches with all the promises, the many declarations delivered by church-related bodies form only one side of the coin. My church and many other churches in Germany I had to say more precisely, highly ranking members of the church are participating in calls for boycott in the same time, for de-investment, for sanctions against Israel. I have to admit very often that officials of the church, of my church, are the initiators of the BDS campaigns. Those persons who will declare this week, on the 9th of November, never again, they are in the same time engaged in BDS campaigns. And more. Those simple slogans blinded many Germans. They stress the slogans, never again, never we will harm Jews. Those single slogans blinded many Germans, especially Christians, towards anti-Semitism, grown strongly among Muslims in Germany. In 2009, when the last Gaza war took place, there was calls on our streets in my region, death to the Jews, Allahu Akbar, stop the Jews, Allahu Akbar. And there was no Christian response, no Christian resistance against those calls. There was no statements of our bishop or of the president of our synod, which condemned the demonstration which were running around the synagogue in Mannheim, for example. Let me mention another example which shows the apparent contradiction between published papers and the real Christian life. I repeatedly mentioned the confession of guilt, the condemnation of hatred against Jews, and finally the changed sermons. And there is assistance, a big support of the ecumenical company program in Palestine and Israel, of the World Council of Churches in Geneva. And taxes from my church were paid for this campaign, which is, I think you know about details about the campaign, which volunteers are sent to the Green Line and to the checkpoints, and then they had to publish one-sided reports what the Israelis are doing at the checkpoints or at the Green Line. You cannot confess to be guilty and after that you are continuing your work as perpetrators, so that the Jews are no longer victims. The Palestinians now are the victims with whom you can identify yourself against the Jewish Israelis. And thus there is no more any reason to feel guilty or to take responsibility because of the Shoah and to have a special motive for remembering. Let me end with a confession. I began before decades to be involved in Jewish-Christian relations in many bodies. Petra Held mentioned it. And I was very optimistic that time in the 80s and in the beginning 90s, because I saw a real reversal process in all churches in Germany. Now, after decades, I arrived in the reality, I think. But I think I'm very sure that we are not allowed to stop. We are not allowed to be pessimistic. We are not allowed to resignize, because the Jews must live. Yes, we have to influence our public. There are chances to influence, and we have to do it. And that's why I'm so grateful for the beginning network which is be founded here. And I hope we will continue. Thank you very much.